Number 15. No one's ever seen him, aka lack of evidence argument, that no one has ever sufficed measurable proof of his existence makes him imaginary and therefore by default non-existent. Number 14. Argument from ignorance, based on the historical tendency to de-divine once considered mysterious phenomena such as epilepsy, lightning, or love attributed to gods such as Thor or Cupid, but then once its mechanism is understood to cease to call it divine, so it will be with everything in the universe, and therefore God does not exist. Number 13, materialism argument. Because all that exists in the universe is but atoms and voids, as Democritus surmised, or force and matter, as Ludwig Büchner concluded, or fermions and bosons, as Paul Dirac upgraded things, God does not exist. Number 12, mythology argument. Because all modern religions, Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism in particular, are based on mythology, Egyptian mythology in particular, which is rooted in flood myth mythology, living sun-god theory, mummification-based reincarnation and resurrection theory, and soul weight theory, etc. God, as a modern concept, is based, therefore, on mythology, and in turn, a mythology itself. Therefore, God does not exist. Number 11. That God is but an hypothesis. Without evidence, it is by default something that does not exist. 10.5. The bloodbath argument. The amount of blood spilled in the name of God throughout history by the various theories of God proves that God does not exist. Number 10. The religious disagreement argument. That there are so many religions and denominations of religions with so many gods who are each in disagreement with each other on points and theories of morality proves that God does not exist. Number 9. The earth moves argument. That the Bible says that the earth is established and does not move, whereas conversely, as science has shown, the earth does move about the sun in particular, and throughout the universe, proves that God does not exist. Number 8, the infinite energy argument, that the Quran says that God is a type of light source emanating from a blessed olive oil that glows in a lamp in a dark cave, untouched by fire, but yet infinite in brightness, which thus contradicts perpetual motion of the first kind, proves that God does not exist. 7.5. The Heart Prayer Study. The 2006 Templeton Foundation funded Heart Prayer Study, which found that those prayed for following coronary artery bypass surgery fared worse than those not prayed for, proves that God does not exist. Number 7. The evolution argument. The fact that humans, as fossil evidence indicates, evolved over millions of years as compared to having been created on one specific day, in corroboration with the fact that the Bible fails to mention the existence of fossilized creatures of the past, such as dinosaurs, proves that God does not exist. Number 6. The imperfect world argument, aka the argument from undesign. According to C.S. Lewis, who cites Lucretius and his atomic theory, had God designed the world, it would not be a world so frail and faulty as we see it. This argument, according to Lewis, is the strongest argument for atheism, that is, the strongest argument for the disproof of the existence of God. Number 5, the free will argument, that the 1982 Libet experiment, which proved that free will does not exist, according to which the perception of freely choosing an act is preceded in time by a mental readiness potential, which itself is preceded in time by electromagnetic and gravitational forces external to the mind, proves that both soul weight and karma weight theories are null and void, according to which God does not exist. Number 4, the existence of evil disproof. The premise of a perfectly moral, perfectly good, omnipotent, that is all-powerful, omniscient, that is all-knowing entity on one hand, and the existence of evil, that is unnatural processes and events on the other, is an insoluble self-contradiction. Therefore, God does not exist. This, according to American philosopher Alvin Plantinga, is the most impressive piece of atheology that is, the subject of God disproofs available. Number 3, the moral symbols argument. That morality, that is the measure of one's reaction existence extent, interpersonally or systematically, is based not on the Bible, according to which such near baseless suppositions are argued. For example, that it is immoral to work on Saturday, immoral to yell at one's parents, but rather based on the physical chemical sciences, as pointed out in the early 19th centuries by German polyintellect Johann Goethe, according to which chemical reaction processes, such as wherein calcium displaces hydrogen in its bonded existence as sulfuric acid to form gypsum, proves or evidences that certain people, when put into contact with other certain people, will displace resultantly from their chemical unions with other people to form new chemical species in bonded union, proves that God does not exist. 2.5. Life does not exist argument. That God, according to the Bible, created moving creatures that have the property of life, but that, according to the modern sciences of chemical thermodynamics and evolution, have failed to find a point in time in which a human as a 26-element atomic geometry came alive in its evolutionary past from the non-alive hydrogen atom, proves that God does not exist. Number 2, afterlife does not exist argument. If, according to Disproof 2.5, life does not exist, which has been independently arrived at by a number of scholars, including most recently Alfred Rogers 2010, Ferris Jaber 2013, then by repercussion afterlife, the assumed abode of God does not exist, which has been corroborated by recent studies of near-death, out-of-body claiming patients who have been unable to read an LED marquee hidden above their bed. Therefore, God does not exist. Number 1, the aluminum argument, that God, according to the world's modern religions, Christianity and Islam in particular, created humans out of clay, as told to us through the stories of Adam and Eve, which mean clay, and breath/spirit in Hebrew. Clay in particular being comprised primarily of aluminum, God bringing them into animation by way of imparting breath or spirit into their composition, a model itself based on the Isis Keenum clay creation myth Potter's Wheel story, but that according to mass composition tables, humans defined as 26 element molecules have no aluminum in their composition, proves that God does not exist. Number 0, God's work disproof. In the old days, it was assumed that God works in mysterious ways. After 2006, modern science has shown that work in human social interactions is quantified by forces moving humans per unit distance, socially quantified by Gibbs free energy, enthalpy, and entropic energy, according to which the powers of social phenomena are no longer mysterious. Therefore, God does not exist.
Don't ask me to pity those people. I don't mourn them any more than I do the thousands that died at Sodom and Gomorrah.
Is that to say, John, that what you were doing was God's good work?
The Lord works in mysterious ways.